broadcast of our Supersized Kids is made possible with the support of viewers like you, the friends of KSBS, and by Sacred Heart Children's Hospital.
You may wake up one day feeling lower than low, like your temperature's down to 100 below. You'll need the best doctors and nurses if you're to get strong, and a place to get better so you can move on. Better, yes, better is all you should be, and this place is one great big get better machine. Sacred Heart Children's Hospital. World-class healthcare, just for kids.
Is thin going extinct? Nearly a third of our children are overweight or obese, and the numbers continue to rise. Childhood obesity is a serious epidemic. We're at risk of raising supersized kids who may live sicker and die younger than the generation before them.
Because at younger and younger ages, we're starting to see children with significant medical complications related to being obese. Type 2 diabetes, hypertension, elevated cholesterol. These are illnesses that we hadn't seen under age 20 before.
With so many of us being overweight these days, sometimes being fat looks, well, normal. But it's not, and it's dangerous. An overweight child usually grows up to be an obese adult.
We're in the midst of an epidemic of obesity in this country between fast foods and greasy foods and sugary drinks.
If we don't change what we do, we will be a society of obese people. I don't think anybody wants that.
It's very scary and it's very real. That's why we need to do something about it now.
Is it baby fat or what? How do you know if your child is a healthy weight? This is the Cordero family. 10-year-old Elijah has always been a big boy.
I had always thought he was bigger, but I didn't really think that there was a problem.
We didn't have much food growing up. I figured if they had a full belly, they'd be happy, you know?
I guess I always thought he was big-boned. I just thought, you know, he's eating every meal. It's good.
Here's his growth chart. You can see how his
A doctor's visit told a different story. Elijah's body mass index, or BMI, showed his weight was growing faster than his height. A BMI is a simple height-to-weight ratio that provides a useful snapshot of whether a child is overweight for his or her age.
I was shocked. I guess I just didn't realize, you know, what we were doing to him.
A BMI above the 85th percentile indicates a child is overweight. It means the child weighs more than 85% of their peers. Above 95% means the child is obese.
The borderline diabetes is what scared me the most. And I just thought, you know, I don't want him to have to give himself shots every day and watch what he eats every, you know, I mean, you can't go back.
Can't fix it.
The Corderos are not alone. Most parents don't realize their child is overweight or how serious it is. Sometimes the chubby kid may not stand out in our overweight society.
And it's kind of hard to accept that more than half the people that we meet every day are either overweight or obese.
Many parents think their child will grow into the extra weight. Sometimes that's true, but 75% of the time it is not. 2 out of 3 overweight 10-year-olds will grow up to be obese adults.
I think in the past, a lot of people used to think, oh, they'll just grow out of it. But what we're seeing now is that kids don't grow out of it. They become obese adolescents, they become obese young adults, they become obese adults.
What we need to realize is that it didn't happen in 1, 2, 3, or even 5 years. It started when the kids were 2, 3, a year old. And that's the urgency.
Did you know our genes are not our destiny? 9-year-old Anna Oda loves guinea pigs and doing crafts with her mom. But life hasn't always been so happy. 2 years ago, Anna was very upset about her weight.
She would come home and cry because kids would call her fat. Not only that though, this little girl told Anna that she was too heavy to sit on Santa's lap.
And you actually have several years.
A visit to the doctor confirmed her fears. Anna was overweight and a borderline diabetic.
Her dad has diabetes, her grandpa has diabetes, and my mom has diabetes. And I was really worried because, I mean, if Anna's that big at that age, how much bigger is she gonna get? How many more health problems is she gonna have?
All right, so Anna, go ahead and step up on this.
Anna was lucky because they caught her weight problem early while she was still growing.
Prevention is key, because if we can catch these children when they are in the category of being overweight, catch them early and really enforce the principles of healthy eating and exercise, food portions, then most of these children still have lots of time to grow.
The goal is to slow down the weight gain and let the height catch up as the child grows. While Anna is younger and still growing, nature is working right along with her. It's much more difficult after puberty.
It is critical that we address these issues at as young an age as possible, and we are working with the body's physiology.
Many obese adolescents were obese children. If you go back and look at their growth charts, you can see that they were already above the 95th percentile when they were 2 or 3. They've already had a decade of obesity.
Yesenia Torres is a single mother of 5. She knows that her Latino heritage puts her family at greater risk for obesity and its associated problems.
Sure, a lot of people from our culture is overweight because we eat too much. And we eat big portions of food and not small portions. Expression of love is feeding the kids whenever they ask for food. It's not loving them. I realized that is not loving them, which I think I used to do that, with David especially.
Nowhere is the child obesity crisis more pronounced than in low-income communities of color. Across the country, more than 35% of African American children and nearly 40% of Latino children are obese or overweight, compared with about 29% of white children. And 1 in every 2 African American and Latino girls are at risk of developing diabetes during their lifetimes, a far higher percentage than white girls. Yesenia's oldest daughter, Natalie, is one of those statistics. She was diagnosed with diabetes at age 15.
I felt like there was something wrong with my body. I already knew since I was like 12 or 13 because of all the headaches and how I always was feeling. Because when my blood sugar goes down, my legs get shaky, I can't pick up anything, and it gets really hot, and it's really bad.
When Yesenia's 10-year-old son, David, began gaining excess weight, she got scared.
My son David was overweight. He was close to the obese line. She did a cholesterol test. It was high. His blood sugar, he was on the borderline for diabetic, and that's what it concerned me more. So I already have a daughter with diabetes, so I didn't want David to get to that point.
It's very hard to accept the fact that our children are overweight, because where do the children get the food from? They're getting it from us. Where are they learning their habits from? They're learning it from us. So it is emotional to think, gosh, my habits and my lifestyle has caused my child to have health issues, and that's hard to accept.
I felt really bad that I didn't know what I was doing wrong with David. So I wanted to find out more. What else can I do to be better, to feed David better, so he wasn't overweight.
The is, things can change. New innovative programs are showing promise in fighting childhood obesity.
And how about the goals?
Group Health's Countdown to Healthy Living pilot program is one example. The program works with the entire family to make healthy changes.
To work with them and help them identify their barriers to changing their lifestyles and encouraging more physical activity in their home, changing some of their dietary and nutrition habits in the home, and doing it together as a family.
And kids of these ages, they're not in charge. They don't buy the food, they don't control the screen time, they're not in charge. So if you don't involve the whole family, then the likelihood of long-term success, I think, is really limited.
Well, you can't just have one person do it. You all have to jump on board. You all have to be willing to make the changes. And if he sees us making the changes, he will.
Making healthy changes as a family makes all the difference.
We used to serve ourselves the large plates. Now we serve the small plates. Even my mother.
We don't call it losing weight. We don't call it dieting. It's a change of eating style. It's making healthier choices. Instead of that candy bar, how about an apple or an orange?
I feel the success rate for children depends on the parents. If parents are on board for making changes, I find that the children are very successful.
This is 12-year-old Caleb Helm. He loves playing sports, scouting, and playing music. Today, Caleb looks and feels great, but it wasn't always that way.
He was about 8 that he started to get kind of a little poochy belly on him. I figured, oh, he's just probably gonna have a growth spurt really soon.
Caleb did not grow out of it. By age 10, kids at school were teasing him and calling him fat.
He was a 10-year-old kid with weight of a 13-year-old kid. It was kind of off the charts.
Caleb's mom was also an overweight child. She knows firsthand what it can do to your self-esteem.
I really felt isolated, felt like I couldn't do some things because I was conscious about my body.
Psychosocial and emotional factors associated with a child being overweight are just as significant as the medical complications, actually. Most of these children do have low self-esteem. They have problems with being bullied at school and being teased, which causes some of them to be introverts, and it can be very devastating to them as individuals.
Every day he asks, does it look like I'm losing weight? Every day he asks. And, so I know he cares about it.
I guess no peer support because they don't maybe have a lot of friends, and so what makes them feel good is to eat food. So it's kind of a vicious circle.
Did you know small changes can make a big difference in your health?
We used to eat out all the time. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Oh, hey, let's go get ice cream,
Got rid of the pop. That was the first thing.
Pop was the main thing.
We would case of pop a day easy.
Eating out, the McDonald's every morning. 3 sausage McMuffins on his way to school.
5. He'd eat 5 easy.
I used to just be happy that they ate breakfast. I wouldn't care what they ate for breakfast as long as it was breakfast. So a plate of nachos was perfectly acceptable as long as he was eating.
Come home after school and grab some chips and a pop. Sit down and watch TV on the couch.
So I brought 5 pounds of fat, and I want everybody to touch it, to look at it. I'm gonna pass it around the table.
Those days are long gone. The Countdown for Healthy Living classes were a real eye-opener.
That's when I got more scared about what we were eating. I saw the junk.
I went home that night after the first group meeting and I cleared my whole kitchen out. By the time we were done, we had 2 garbage bag fulls.
So this one is a hamburger. It's 410 calories. I find most of it is people are just not educated in how to be healthy, that they haven't had the information on how to provide a healthy lifestyle for themselves or for families.
Keeping a food journal is a great way to get started.
Once you started seeing though on paper and written down what you were doing and feeding them, it started kicking in.
They would have us journal plus measure out all the food intake that he was eating down to
calories
and
portions.
Ounces on the peanut butter that you put on the sandwich and the slice of bread. And once you start writing it all down, it's just amazing how much you're putting in your mouth.
It taught us a lot. We didn't even know we were doing, not just to him, to ourselves, you know.
Food gives our body the energy it needs to do the activities we love. To maintain a healthy weight, we need to balance the amount of energy or calories we take in the form of food with energy we use by being active. Unfortunately, most of us suffer from portion distortion. We're just eating way too much.
And big portions, especially once we start seeing how big the portions really are supposed to be. I was times them by 6, easy.
Big portions.
Food portion sizes have really grown over the last 20 years, and not just in restaurants, at home too. Many times our plate arrives with enough food on it for 2 or even 3 people. Hamburgers have expanded by 23%. A plate of Mexican food is 27% bigger. Soft drinks have increased in size by 52%. Snacks are 60% larger. So it's not surprising that our kids are getting larger too. Studies show if it is there, we eat it, whether we're full or not. So what is a normal portion size anyway? A portion size for meat, chicken, or fish is roughly the size of a deck of cards. For potatoes, rice, or pasta, it's roughly the size of the palm of your hand or 1 cup. Vegetables, however, are pretty much all you can eat. But it's not only that we eat too much, it's what we're eating.
And they had all these different displays.
Just the fat content in the meat and the sugar and sodas and
how much oil was in each snack.
And you can see it and feel it. You could touch it and want to wring our bodies out.
Today, 23% of our grocery dollars goes towards processed packaged foods. That has more than doubled in the last 20 years. It's fast, easy, and inexpensive, but it comes at a price. Most processed packaged foods are full of added sugars, fats, and salt.
It was so scary, really scary. I was like, oh my God, I'm feeding my kids that?
But equally troubling is what has been removed from our food. Processed foods are often stripped of nutrients and fiber designed by nature to protect your body and keep you healthy.
13. Okay, there was 13 teaspoons in this bottle.
What kids are drinking is also part of the problem. Most kids consume over 100 pounds of sugar a year, much of it in sugary drinks and soda.
An enormous amount of sugar.
Yeah, and they show it in granulated, so you actually can see how much sugar you're putting in your body.
Our bodies need to move, run, jump, bend, and play at least 60 minutes every day.
When we were kids, we used to play, kick the can, that sort of thing. We learned that from other people in our neighborhood. These days, a lot of electronic gadgetry goes on. Kids don't play as much as they used to.
Mounting research shows that the amount of time a child spends watching TV and using other media is linked to their body weight. Too much screen time translates into less exercise time and bigger waistlines. Studies show that kids with TVs in their bedrooms are twice as likely to be obese. Plus, the American Academy of Pediatrics recently reported that our children watch too much TV, don't get enough exercise, see too many junk food ads, and don't get enough sleep. It's no wonder our kids are overweight. Moving more as a family is key. But it's not necessarily about getting a health club membership or joining a sports team.
We focused on physical activity as a family. So whether that meant walking in the park or doing jazzercise in your home, what we wanted was the family as a unit to just move more.
We discovered that it was important to have the parents involved. We didn't for the first session. The parents didn't do the physical activity with us, and we discovered that if we re-taught them how to play, allowed them to be silly with their kids, allowed the kids to see the parents being silly and know that they could do that and would do that, that seemed to break down a lot of barriers and get them more active in the time that they weren't here with us.
Role modeling is key. As a parent, you have to be willing to participate and model the behavior that you want your child to pick up.
And snacks are important because we don't want to be so hungry at dinner time that we overeat.
Because for Caleb, he got to be around other kids that were experiencing the same types of things that he was experiencing. He got to talk about what it was like to feel excluded or teased and know that he's not the only one.
That sounds funny, huh?
Some of these kids have changed schools many times because of bullying. Some of them have never felt like they fit in or that others paid much attention to them in a positive way. So this was an environment where they did feel like they fit in, they got to do everything everybody else was doing.
At 15, Michelle James was overweight.
Everything revolved around food, whether it was, because I was sad or because I was happy, it was all about the food.
Now at 32, Michelle can still remember the pain of growing up overweight.
I didn't really dwell on the fact that I was overweight because it was too hard. I would never joke about my weight. I was not one of those people that would just make light of it because it really did bug me.
Michelle was the only heavy one in her family.
I wasn't the pretty one. I wasn't the skinny one. That was my sister.
Looking back, Michelle can pinpoint a string of tragic events that coincide with her ballooning weight.
I have had a lot of loss. I love people with my whole heart, but then when they're gone, it's like my whole heart hurts.
To ease the pain, Michelle began to overeat.
I didn't know what to do with the feelings of loss and of grief and of hurt and pain. And so I didn't really have anyone to talk to, so you just eat. And it just kind of makes everything go away for a period of time.
There are some kids who have had a normal weight or maybe slightly higher weight their whole lives, and then something will happen. And it can be a significant life event. It could be a car accident involving a family member, or it could be a loss in the family, a divorce, some major life event. For some kids, it can happen very quickly. You can see 8-10 pounds in a month.
Being an overweight teenager affected Michelle's self-confidence. It was hard to make friends and easy to fall in with the wrong crowd. She made some poor choices, especially when it came to dating boys.
Ended up pregnant at 17 in my senior year of high school. I just think a lot of it had to do with my weight because I was overweight and struggled with self-confidence. I chose to date someone who wasn't really concerned about me.
2 weeks after Michelle graduated from high school, she made the tough decision to give her baby up for adoption. It was one more loss to deal with.
But that was a major loss at 18, And what do you do with that as an 18-year-old? I mean, just eat. I ate.
Elmo's off to school. Where's Elmo's bed? There.
3 years ago, Michelle had had enough.
I looked in the mirror and I had become a person I didn't recognize. And I thought, this is not who I was made to be. This is not the person I want to be. And it started with working through my feelings and realizing how I'd just kind of eaten myself into a hole.
Right there.
Michelle is married now with a beautiful daughter and another child on the way. With the help of a church group, a nutrition plan, and lots of exercise, Michelle has lost over 80 pounds over the last 3 years. She's dedicated to living a healthy lifestyle and being fit.
I don't feel like my life is controlled by my next meal. That there's a freedom in being able to say no to certain foods, and there's a freedom that comes in being able to go out and run a mile. That's freeing, to feel like your body works the way it was created to work. It's freedom.
After 2 years, David, Anna, Caleb, and Elijah are seeing positive results.
I seen a big results on David. He lost about 15 pounds. He is a different kid. He didn't used to fit on a lot of clothes. Now he's so excited. It's loose on him.
And then I noticed she's losing weight, and her doctor did too. And I'm like, it's working, you know, this is great. So it's really improved her self-esteem.
It's not going to happen overnight, but if you start making the changes and he sees you making the changes, then he will eventually make the changes.
These kids are the lucky ones. Their parents are dedicated to role modeling a healthy lifestyle.
That's where it starts. I see it, I hear it, I taste it, I do it, I live it. And if we can start with moms and dads when the kids are young to role model those behaviors, that's where we start.
I asked him, how do you feel? I feel good, Mom. Look, I'm so skinny. I'm getting a six-pack.
He started cross country, and then he did Bloomsday training, and then he wanted to play basketball. And I think that he doesn't really view himself as a fat kid anymore.
Broadcast of our Supersized Kids is made possible with the support of viewers like you, the friends of KSBS, and by Sacred Heart Children's Hospital.
You may wake up one day feeling lower than low, like your temperature's down to 100 below. You'll need the best doctors and nurses if you're to get strong, and a place to get better so you can move on. Better, yes, better is all you should be. And this place is one great big Get Better machine. Sacred Heart Children's Hospital. World-class healthcare, just for kids.
You may order your own copy of this program by calling 1-800-735-2377 or by visiting our secure website at ksbs.org.